Imagine being thrown into a dark well by your own brothers, sold into foreign slavery, falsely accused of a terrible crime, and locked away in prison for years when you were completely, absolutely innocent. And yet, somehow, rising to become one of the most powerful men in Egypt. Welcome to our explainer on the story of Prophet Yusuf, a master class in beautiful patience. Often described as the best of stories, this is not just ancient history. It is, frankly, one of the most profound masterclasses on human resilience you'll ever come across. It's a wild paradox, right? You have this list of absolute traumas, betrayal, human trafficking, wrongful imprisonment, that would easily break most of us. But then you look at his triumphs. He became a highly trusted leader who literally saved an entire nation from starvation. So the big question is, how on earth does a person survive that kind of suffering without letting it completely destroy their character? Section 1, the dream and betrayal. To really understand how he got there, we've got to go back to the very beginning. We first meet Yusuf as the deeply beloved young son of Prophet Yaqub, or Jacob, and the whole thing kicks off with a profound prophetic dream. Yusuf confides in his dad that he saw exactly 11 stars along with the sun and the moon bowing down to him. It's an incredibly striking visual and a clear sign of immense future destiny. But as you probably know, in any great story, immense favor usually attracts immense danger. And that danger, it came from inside his own home. His older brothers became just utterly consumed by jealousy over their father's obvious love for Yusuf. This wasn't your standard sibling rivalry. It mutated into a really dark plot. They conspired against him, lured him out, and literally hurled him into the depths of a dark well just to be rid of him. And to cover their tracks, they went back to their father, crying, spinning a completely fabricated story that Yusuf had been tragically devoured by a wolf. Can you even imagine that heartbreak? The grief that hit his father, Yaqub, is described as overwhelming. But in the face of this unimaginable tragedy, believing his beloved son was dead, Yaqub models something we're going to see a lot of today. He committed to what the text calls beautiful patience. It's not a bitter, angry waiting, but a graceful, enduring response to profound grief. And man, it's a concept that his son, sitting abandoned at the bottom of a well, was about to need more than anything. Section 2, slavery and false accusation. Meanwhile, Yusuf's nightmare is honestly just getting started. Deep in that well, he was eventually discovered by some passing travelers. But instead of rescuing him, they treated him like merchandise. He was dragged away and sold into slavery in Egypt, ending up in the household of a high-ranking nobleman known as Al-Aziz. But here is where we really see Yusuf's character shine. Even stripped of his freedom, reduced to being a servant in a totally foreign land, his exceptional honesty and absolute integrity immediately started turning heads. But once again, his noble character put a massive target on his back. The nobleman's wife became infatuated and tried to seduce him. Yusuf held fiercely to his faith and his moral compass, and he firmly refused her. So, to save her own reputation after being rejected, she completely flipped the narrative and falsely accused him. It just goes to show you, doing the right thing doesn't always yield immediate rewards. Despite being completely innocent, Yusuf was framed and unjustly thrown behind bars. Section 3, Prison and Prophecy. Let's look at his time in captivity, because this is where most people would just throw in the towel. Stripped of his freedom yet again, locked away in a dungeon for a crime he literally did not commit, Yusuf had every single reason to become cynical, angry, and resentful. But he didn't. Instead of growing bitter, he was a source of light. He showed deep compassion to the people around him. When two of his fellow inmates were troubled by strange dreams, he used his unique, divinely given gift of dream interpretation to guide them. He was still dedicating himself to helping others, even while trapped in his own nightmare. Section 4, Rise to Power. And this brings us to the pivotal turning point of the entire explainer, where years of silent hardship suddenly align with destiny. When you map out the sheer scale of his journey, it's mind-blowing. From the isolation of the well, to servitude in the nobleman's house, to the despair of the prison. For years, he was trapped in locations defined by utter powerlessness. But every single painful step was actually a necessary prerequisite for Phase 4, the palace. Years later, the king of Egypt is plagued by this terrifying, perplexing dream that nobody in his court can figure out. Word eventually reaches the king about a guy in prison who can understand dreams. Yusuf is called up, and he not only correctly interprets it, predicting 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of devastating famine, but he goes a step further. He steps right into his true leadership potential by proposing a brilliant agricultural plan to prepare Egypt and save its people. The king is literally so astounded by his wisdom and integrity that he releases him on the spot and places him in ultimate authority over the land's resources. Section 5. The Ultimate Reunion. With the famine now sweeping across the region, just as Yusuf predicted, the narrative comes full circle. Talk about dramatic irony. The famine wasn't just in Egypt, it hit his family's homelands too. Yusuf's brothers, yes, the exact same guys who threw him into that well decades ago, are forced to travel to Egypt to beg for grain. Imagine the sheer tension of this moment. They're standing in front of the most powerful leader in the land, desperately pleading for survival, totally blind to the fact that they are begging the brother they discarded like trash. Yusuf recognizes them instantly, but they have absolutely no clue who he is. Think about it. He holds all the cards. He has total power. He could exact the most satisfying, justified revenge imaginable. But instead, when he finally reveals his identity, he chooses absolute, radical forgiveness. He tells them there is no blame on them today. This astonishing grace leads to a deeply emotional family reunion. He sends his shirt back to his grieving father, Yaqub, and the source text notes that upon smelling Yusuf's shirt, the father's sight, which he had lost from years of weeping, is miraculously restored. Section 6. Lessons in Beautiful Patience. It's just a breathtaking conclusion. But let's distill exactly why this is considered the best of stories and what we should take away from it today. The big, overarching theme here is sabr. It translates to beautiful patience, but listen, it is not passive. It is an active, incredibly dignified resilience. It means enduring severe trials, crushing betrayals, and deep unfairness without ever letting bitterness or anger define who you are. Sabr is the exact thing that kept Yusuf morally grounded in the well, in slavery, and rotting in that dungeon.
And you have to couple that directly with tawakkul. This is absolute trust in Allah. It's the firm belief that even when your circumstances seem completely objectively hopeless, they are actually moving pieces in a much greater unseen plan. Yusuf never stopped trusting that his suffering had a purpose, even when he couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Ultimately, it really all boils down to a choice. We can choose revenge. It's easy, it's natural, but it just breeds bitterness and keeps the cycle of pain spinning. Or we can choose forgiveness. Yusuf proved that true power isn't about punishing those who hurt you when you finally have the upper hand. True power is having the supreme character to forgive them, break the cycle, and demonstrate unimaginable grace. He never let the cruelty of others change his kind heart. Yusuf's journey is this powerful reminder that what looks like the bitter end of the road is sometimes just the beginning of something infinitely greater. So ask yourself, how can you apply this beautiful patience to your own current setbacks? Can you trust that today's unfair trial might just be setting the stage for your ultimate triumph? Let that sink in.